Bitcoin represents pure digital property, global property. It doesn't have the dilutive elements of a security. It doesn't have the dilutive elements of a currency or a credit instrument or debt instrument. So Bitcoin offers you apex global property. Theoretically, if the S&P index yields 7%, there's no reason why Bitcoin shouldn't appreciate about 14% in that environment. I think you get about a 7% real yield over the course of 100 years, whereas S&P index gives you 0% real yield. The best you can theoretically do with real estate property is maybe a 2% real yield if you're just really good at it. But there are just so many risks. Will your grandson or granddaughter be able to run the family property portfolio no matter what country they live in? And are you sure that any of 10,000 politicians aren't going to pass a law to destroy your property values sometime in the next 100 years? Think back from 1900 to the year 2000. And now imagine that you own a bar of gold in the bank in your city. What's the likelihood that you still have it 100 years later? Imagine you have a building in a major city in the world. Imagine you still have it 100 years later. Would you want to own a building in Russia, in Moscow, in Kiev, in Tokyo, in London, in Paris, in New York? Where would you want to own the building? Where would you want to own the bar of gold? It turns out that everywhere in the world, the gold got seized. Maybe you might have got by in Zurich, Switzerland, but everywhere else you lost all your money. Every bank failed, every currency failed. So your best bet is maybe you own property that they can't make more of. If you're lucky enough to own, if you owned a piece of property on the Gold Coast of Florida for 100 years, it went from $100,000 to $50 million. Good, but the property taxes on it probably offset the capital gain from it if it was residential. So the only way you could have actually made money owning property is if you own commercial real estate and you generated a rent on it in excess of the taxes and the insurance and the depreciation and the maintenance. It's not easy to do that everywhere in the world. So Bitcoin represents property rights, or the right to purchase perfect property that is maintainable, right? It's low cost to maintain. It's indestructible. The rain doesn't melt it. Tornadoes don't destroy it. And it's scalable. You can buy it with your weekly paycheck. And if it's liquid, you can sell it. Try selling it 1/100th of a building. Not so easy. Bitcoin represents global digital property. You can take it anywhere on earth. You can hold it for 100 years. In theory, you can hold it for 1,000 years. So you can take a very long view. And how many banks will want your Bitcoin? Well, you see what's going on right now is there's a French bank that wants to custody Bitcoin. There's a German bank that wants to custody Bitcoin. There's a Singapore bank that wants to custody Bitcoin. The banks in the UAE are getting into the business. The banks in Spain are getting into the business. The banks in the US are getting into the business. Right? And on the other hand, none of those banks want to give you a mortgage on your house in Arkansas. Only a local bank in Arkansas is going to get into that, right? So Bitcoin represents a pure economic asset. It doesn't have the liabilities that come with securities and other forms of property and other commodities. And it's simple, and that's why it appeals to the middle class. I don't have a better solution for you if you're a working person on a salary and you want to take control of your own economic destiny.